15 Days Practice for IELTS Listening. Brought to you by Knowledge Island by Bilal.
Day 13. Review 1. You will hear part of a tutorial between two students and their tutor. The students are doing a research project on computer use. Listen to the conversation carefully and answer questions 1 through 5. First, you have some time to look at the questions. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 through 5.
Dr. Barrett?
Sammy, come in. Is Irene with you?
Yes.
Good. Sit down. Right. We're looking at how far you've got with your research project since we last met. You decided to do a survey about computer facilities at the university, didn't you?
That's right. We decided to investigate the university's open access to a computer when they need one, so we thought it would be a useful area to research.
Good. It's not a topic anyone has looked at before, as far as I know, so it's a good choice. So what background reading did you do?
Well, we looked in the catalogs in the library, but we couldn't find much that was useful. It's such a specialized subject. Hardly anything seems to have been published about it.
And as well as that, the technology is all changing so quickly.
But the Open Access Center has an online questionnaire on computer use that it asks all the students to do at the end of their first year, and the supervisor gave us access to that data. So we used it as a starting point for our research. It wasn't exactly what we needed, but it gave us an idea of what we wanted to find out in our survey. Then we designed our own questionnaire.
And how did you use it?
We approached students individually and went through our questionnaire with them on a one-to-one basis.
So you actually asked them the questions?
That's right. We made notes of the answers as we went along, and actually we found we got a bit of extra information that way as well, about the underlying attitudes of the people we were interviewing by observing the body language and things like that.
How big was your sample?
Well, altogether we interviewed a random sample of 65 students, 55% male and 45% female.
And what about the locations and times of the survey?
We went to the 5 open access computer centers at the university, and we got about equal amounts of data at each one. It took us 3 weeks. We did it during the week, in the day and in the evenings.
Not the weekends?
No.
So presumably your respondents were mostly full-time students.
Yes. Oh, you mean we should have collected some data at the weekends from the part-time students? We didn't think of that.
Okay. It's just an example of how difficult it is to get a truly random sample. So how far have you got with the analysis of results?
Well, everyone agrees there was a problem, but we're more interested in what they think should be done about it. The most popular suggestion was for some sort of booking system. About 77% of the students thought that would be best. But there were other suggestions. For example, about 65% of people thought it would help if the opening hours were longer, like 24 hours a day.
Review 2. Harry is talking to a salesperson about hiring a car. As you listen, answer questions 1 through 10. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 through 10. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 1 through 10. I'm on holiday and I'd like to hire a car to travel throughout Britain.
That sounds great. I wish I were going. Where do you plan to visit?
Well, I'm going to look at some top tourist spots, Stonehenge, the Welsh Valleys, and I'd like to get right up to the north of Scotland to see the highlands around Inverness. Maybe I'll even get some great pictures of the Loch Ness Monster. That's the reason I'm hiring a car. I mean, I love the freedom to go where I please and really make the most of my stay.
I see. Well, you've come to the right place. Book your holiday through our agency, and you'll benefit from the help of expert consultants like me. We can offer you the best deals going. We use only the most respected international car hire companies. I'm sure we can find just the right car for you, and if you pre-book before you want to go, that'll guarantee that the most suitable car will be available. And we make what we call our price pledge, too. In the unlikely event that you find a lower price with another international car hire company for an identical car, we'll match it. That means we'll refund the difference between what you've paid us and the offer from the other company.
Can't say fairer than that, can you? Anyway, could you tell me more about the cars and, obviously, the insurance? I'm going to be driving several thousand miles, and I need a vehicle that will go the distance and not break down.
Don't worry, sir. You're in good hands with us. We're one of the UK's largest car rental companies with a track record of over 50 years' experience. Our standards of service are unrivaled. Our cars are on average 6 months old and are subject to regular safety checks and maintenance. About the insurance. Our hire rates include full insurance for all collision damage. Mind you, the careful driver's got nothing to worry about. Statistics show that Britain has the safest roads in Europe. One of our customers been driving for 35 years without an accident. And that's not unusual these days in Britain.
That's reassuring. So, what do your hire rates cover? Are there any extras?
There are no hidden extras with our company, unlike some which I could mention, but mustn't. Our rates are fully inclusive and give you unlimited mileage, plus insurance against theft and, as I said, collision damage. Also, there are no fees for amending or canceling your booking, so you're free to decide what to do.
What about picking up and dropping off the car?
We have collection points at town centers throughout Britain and at all the airports, which are open during office hours. If you prefer, your car can be delivered to and collected from your accommodation.
That sounds fine. I would like the car to be delivered, but I'll take it to the airport myself when I go back to China. I'd be interested to know about various models I could hire.
We can offer 5 types of cars. If you wanted a hatchback, you could hire a 5-door or a 3-door. Both of them have power steering and airbags. The larger one also has air conditioning. You know, a hatchback is a car with a door at the back that lifts up.
Yes. What are the alternatives?
The first alternative is our 4-door sedan. Or, if there are only 2 of you, you might like our 2-door open-top convertible model. It looks like a sport car. The other 2 alternatives are a bit different. If you want to go on rough country roads or off-road, we have a very good 4-wheel drive vehicle.
We haven't decided how many people will be going yet. Some friends might want to come with us. So, finally, could you tell me the prices?
All our rentals are calculated in 3-day periods. The people carrier costs £180, the sedan £135, the hatchback £63, the small hatchback £47, and the 2-door convertible £111. Excellent value, all of them, especially if several people share.
My thoughts exactly. I'll be in touch with you in the next few days to let you know which model I'll take.
That'll be a pleasure, sir. Please take a copy of our latest brochure with you.
Review 3.
You are going to hear a lecture about the world's energy. Listen carefully and write no more than 3 words to fill in the blank in the following summary. First, you have some time to read the questions. Now, listen to the lecture.
The world's energy comes from a number of different sources, which may be broadly classified into 2 categories. The first, which includes fossil fuels and minerals such as oil, coal, natural gas, uranium, etc., comprises sources of energy that are non-renewable. The second category, which includes the wind, the waves, the tides, the temperature of the oceans, and the sun, comprises sources that will continue to provide energy in virtually unlimited quantities as long as the Earth and the sun exist. And yet, despite the fact that they are to all intents and purposes inexhaustible, the sources of this second category remain almost untapped. Most energy is produced today by burning hydrocarbon fuels drawn from the world's non-renewable reserves. The amount of these potential reserves, by which is generally meant the quantity that can be extracted by present or conceivable future techniques, is a matter of some controversy. This is understandable. If we consider the enormous difficulties involved in determining how much fuel nature has hidden in the earth, and how much of it is or will become accessible, and the fact that different countries use different methods of estimation. Proven recoverable reserves, i.e., those whose extraction is already an economically feasible proposition, are considerably smaller. The great difference between potential and proven recoverable reserves is explained by the fact nature has placed so much of this fossil fuel in remote parts of the globe, at depths and in quantities that makes its extraction unjustifiable at present in economic terms. Let us now compare proven recoverable reserves with estimated consumption. Between now and the year 2010, the quantity of energy required by the world will account for almost 10% of its proven recoverable fossil fuels. If no other source of energy is employed, 78% of these fuels will have been used up by the year 2050, while 100 years later, according to the most moderate long-term forecast, there will be none left. Comparison of consumption with potential reserves produces a somewhat brighter picture. By the year 2010, the demand for energy will have used up only 3.6% of these reserves, and by 2050, 26%. A century later, about half of these reserves will still remain. These comparisons clearly show that the world's stock of chemical fuels is quite sufficient to cover its energy requirements for at least another 100 years. There is thus no immediate danger of, as it were, emptying the coal bucket. On the other hand, these reserves of fuel are limited, and within the foreseeable future there could be none left. It is possible that our children's grandchildren might find themselves in a world drained dry of natural gas and oil. We should thus lose no time in thinking about ways and means of producing artificial oil or artificial gas, and above all, of producing energy in unlimited quantities from sources which in no way threaten the environment. Review 4.
You are going to listen to an article from a magazine. Look at questions 1 to 6 and decide if the statements are true, false, or not mentioned. First, you have some time to read the questions. Now, listen carefully.
Dr. John Ray has windmills on the mind, but these are not fantasies for tilting at, nor idle daydreams. As chief scientist at the Department of Energy, it is Ray's task to keep Britain switched onto alternative sources of electricity and fuel. From wave machines to sun-powered cars, he is the one who must examine all the options, and windmills, Ray believes, are among the most promising. There is a drawback. Wind power is greedy for land. At Altamont Pass in California, nearly 7,000 windmills cover 23 square miles. Yet, when they're all working at peak production, total output is 1.2 gigawatts, only about the same as an ordinary power station. It was the dramatic rise in the price of oil during the early 1970s that inspired Britain's so-called renewable energy from natural environmental sources which never run out, including those such as wind and tide, unlike coal or oil. The programme researches and demonstrates new techniques to industry, persuading companies and institutions to take them up. The flow of oil from the North Sea has taken the urgent edge off finding renewable energy. Research into renewables has a budget of 14 million compared to the 200 million for nuclear power research. However, Ray reckons he would have difficulty spending a bigger sum sensibly at the moment. Most of the cash goes to the onshore wind, tidal and hot dry rocks projects. Ray claims Britain is an international leader in the latter, which gets its name from the hot rocks beneath the Earth's crust that are a source of its energy. Water is pumped down under pressure, passed through fractures in the hot rocks, and pumped back up again. Estimates of the potential vary widely, but some say there may be enough hot rocks under Britain to power the country for 9 years. The tidal option seems the source which nature intended Britain to pursue. In the Severn Estuary, we have one of the best sites in the world for tidal power, says Ray. The proposed 5.5 billion Severn barrier on its own could produce a peak of 7.2 gigawatts over 1 year, equivalent to almost 5% of Britain's energy consumption. But there are big problems. Tidal power comes in surges twice a day. Unfortunately, no battery is big enough to store the amount of power produced at a surge. This is the universal curse, says Ray. So instead, the barrier must be geared to supply a much lower level of power consistently. This reduces its capability to 1.1 gigawatts, the equivalent of just one conventional power station. Realistically, the total amount of energy we could expect to get from tidal power, even looking 20 years into the future, would be 8%, Ray says.
Don't forget to comment, like, and share our video.